Hello guys, and welcome back to another video in our channel. In our video today we're going to talk about the FA Cup, and we're mainly going to focus on the FA Cup fifth round, and we're going to focus at the game between Chelsea and Aston Villa. That will be our analysis today. So the game ended in a 0-0 draw in a game where I believe and I feel that Chelsea, if they were more clinical with their chances, they should have won at least 2-0 in this game. But again, I will air out my concerns on why I think this did not happen. So, Maurizio Pochettino faced Unai Emery for the second time, and as this time they all went in a draw. But Aston Villa will be happy with the draw because now the rematch will be played at Villa Park, and they'll be looking to use their home form to try to proceed to the next round of the FA Cup. So Chelsea lined up in a 4-2-3-1 system. Now my issue was playing Cole Palmer as a false nine, and this is not good because the last time Cole Palmer played in this position, Chelsea did not manage to win that game, and that game was a game against Middlesbrough, and this is where I saw the first tactical problem. Aston Villa lined up with their default 4-4-2 system, as I explained in my previous video how Aston Villa usually like to play. I explained how they like to use their two wide wingers as attacking midfielders while their front two make runs behind the opposition line. So Chelsea were hoping to at least to get through to the next round of the game. However, in this game Chelsea played quite well, and we are going to analyze some of the patterns of play that Maurizio Pochettino incorporated in his team. But before we start our analysis, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. So in the initial phases of play, Petrovic did not have a problem finding either Disasi or Thiago Silva. And this was because Aston Villa pressed in a 4-4-4-2 diamond mid-block, with their wide wingers covering Chelsea's two attacking midfielders and Kamara pushing forward to try and prevent the ball to Moises Caicedo. You can see here, Petrovic is under little or no pressure to play the ball from the back, and he can easily find the two centre backs. You can see how Chelsea's fullbacks are so free in this position. So Watkins would and Diaby would attempt to press in a piston kind of press so that they can force the ball to be played out wide. And this will be the trigger for Aston Villa to engage in an aggressive touchline press. Remember, I said teams like to press the ball out wide so that they can use the touchline as an extra defender. And this enables majority of the teams to win the ball. So in these cases, this would force Chelsea to move back. But remember, if Chelsea would either invert one of their fullbacks or even alternatively shift into a back three, this created problems since Enzo and Conor Gallagher pushed forward to form a front five against Aston Villa's back four, while Gilchrist sometimes inverted further forward or held the width down the right. And this formed that Caicedo was the only deeper pivot looking to try to receive the ball directly from the centre backs. But Aston Villa's main aim was to cut any central progression of the ball. And see from this clip, Thiago Silva being the dictator of the tempo of the game. So, because Chelsea were building with a four-man backline, the wide centre-backs were always free and had time and space on the ball. And we started to see Disasi Badishile attempting passes behind the Aston Villa backline for the runs of Raheem Sterling and Enzo Fernandez, who would make those runs. Since Aston Villa were maintaining a high defensive line, Chelsea identified this opportunity and decided to place their forwards on the shoulders of the last defenders. Now, And this is where I say that if Chelsea had a striker, this would have given Cole Palmer a lot of space in these kinds of positions. So, but Aston Villa decided to, because also Thiago Silva was playing these balls over the top, and the likes of Raheem Sterling, Conor Gallagher, and Enzo Fernandez were constantly making these runs behind the opposition defense line. Aston Villa had to change tact, or else they will get exploited. You see, in this clip here, you can see that if Broja had started, then he would have occupied the two center backs, allowing Cole Palmer to be dropping deep to receive the ball in space. But Pochettino again decided to play Cole Palmer out of position. So to mitigate these constant balls over the top, Aston Villa decided to shift into a deep to mid 4-4-2 narrow block, eliminating any space in between the lines. Raheem Sterling and Madueke held the width, while Enzo Caicedo, Conor Gallagher, and Cole Palmer played in between the lines. Gilchrist played slightly deeper in a more inverted situation, and down the right we started to see Madueke receiving the ball, while Conor Gallagher would be making that half space run. But Conor Gallagher was not quite effective in this half space, since the only thing that he could do is attack this space and try to create using cutbacks and crosses. Here you can see Noni Madueke is about to receive the ball from Gilchrist. You can see that already Gerard Moreno has already shifted out, anticipating to cover him. So Moreno shifts out, and Douglas Luiz is slow to cover Conor Gallagher. You can see Conor Gallagher has identified the space between centre back and full back, while Cole Palmer is dragging the centre backs out of position. So Conor Gallagher receives the ball and attempts a superb cutback, but this cutback is unfortunately blocked. And this is where I started to see a lot of problems for Chelsea, because if Cole Palmer would operate in these kinds of regions, he will be so effective in creating quality chances for Chelsea. Now, down the left-hand side is where Chelsea had a lot of threat, and this was because of Raheem Sterling. So what did Raheem Sterling do? So Budishile would be pushing forward, drawing in an Aston Villa winger out of position, then play the ball in between the lines for Enzo Fernandez, who will flick it on to Raheem Sterling. And this is where we saw the best of Raheem Sterling, using the ball, taking up the ball and attempting to dribble past opponents. I was so impressed with Raheem Sterling in this game. He looked like the only forward who attempted to make something out of this game. Here you can see Disasi has played the ball directly to Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez flicks the ball immediately to Raheem Sterling. See how Raheem Sterling is holding the width and has acres of space. Now, Aston Villa decided to, because of this deep overload, McGinn started to drop deep to play as a wing back, and Aston Villa assembled themselves in a 5-3-2 kind of a deep block. And this created problems for Chelsea, since now Aston Villa were able to use their wide players to cover Chelsea's wingers, and this now allowed Newcastle to have time to mitigate the Chelsea overload. Now, when Newcastle were building, they were building like as usual, with their centre back spreading wide of Emi Martinez, and this was aided. But Chelsea, as usual, the way I had done in my preview, decided to press in a mid 4-2-3-1 block, with Palmer being the sole presser, with Conor Gallagher just behind him. You can see here, Conor Gallagher is sitting behind Cole Palmer to cover that area of pressure, but you can see here Matikash has dropped deep and is playing more of an extra centre back to give Aston Villa numerical advantages. So Chelsea's main aim was to force the ball down the wide area, and when the ball was forced down the wide area is where we saw Chelsea's press become into an aggressive press. You can see from the position of Noni Madueke that Gerard Moreno can receive the pass, but Gilchrist is already stepped out and ready to cover this position. Now, This would force Aston Villa to play the ball back, and sometimes Lenglet made a mistake in which Chelsea caught and pounced on. So I told you that Aston Villa likes to invert its wingers in field, but Chelsea's 4-2-3-1 system was able to mitigate this threat that Aston Villa like to create by having the two midfielders shifting across to try and cover either dropping wingers, and this prevented Aston Villa from playing their game. Also, a point to note is that Lenglet was susceptible to being pressed, especially by Conor Gallagher, and this forced him to lose the ball time and time again. So, in my opinion, this game was such an interesting game, but I still continue to emphasize that Pochettino needs to continue playing players in their position. Playing Cole Palmer as a false nine is not doing great to the boy, because Cole Palmer is a player who does not like to move like a striker. He doesn't know how to move like a striker, but he's a very deadly threat when you play him as a number 10. So I would appreciate if Pochettino would have at least started Armando Broja and allowed Cole Palmer the freedom to play his game freely, because Broja would have held the centre backs, allowing Cole Palmer to be free to even attempt a shot on goal and to be less man-marked. Another thing that I need to talk about is the departure of Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp finally departs Liverpool after 9 years. And this will be quite an interesting story. Looking forward towards the game on Wednesday away at Anfield. And will Chelsea have even a simple opportunity of trying to win away at Anfield? That will be our next analysis in this channel. If you've enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share and subscribe, and thanks for watching.